Hello, Chris Snyder here. It is May 7th, 2017. It's a Sunday, and it's not a fun day. Well, it's fun for me, effectively, but it's a long work day. I need to accomplish a lot. I got my folding ladder out to work as a sawhorse, and I want to rip down the flooring, and I'm making what they call like a shooting board, where it allows you to take your circular saw and keep a consistent cut. So gotta work with that. That's the refrigerator in the back of the car. Took it out to make sure it works. It does. It's actually an interesting refrigerator, and the fact that all like the little cooling coils are right to the refrigerator. There's a little section up top. It cools the whole fridge, but anything in that metal little container that's effectively the refrigerator will freeze. So it's a neat little thing, and it works. So I want to plug it in Liner to further confirm, but I kind of want to go through a couple things here. So it's still another demo day in part. I'm ripping down the flooring because I want to get all the flooring in, not necessarily screwed down, but just the old crap out and then something to walk on. So I would say it's still effectively a demo day, but it's the first sign of something to come. So, all right, so I don't know if I showed you this specific on another demo day, but I took the tank out, right? And the issue with this tank, to remind you, is that it was a cylindrical tank, and it was compressed air, the way they used to do it. And this fitting did not have a pressure regulator on, so when you hook up the city water, you don't want anything more than, say, 40. In some cities, they way overpressurize their network, and it could be coming in at 60, 80 psi, so you got to knock that back down. Pressure reducer, producing valve. And so I took out the old fitting because they have these special ones that go in. Oh, it's inside. I'll show you later. But anyway, it doesn't line up, and these are kind of things I'm going to face. So I took the new one, and I put it over this and said, oh, wait, it's not going to line up these holes. Do I want to have new holes, and these one is exposed? Can I seal them effectively? And I don't know if I mentioned it briefly before, if I'm moving away from the compressed air to a more modern system with a pump, and I want a pressure reducing valve here for the city pressure, I wouldn't really had to worry about that with the original tank, but I would have had to make sure I closed the valve when I filled the tank, and then take it off. And because the way I want to set this up, people are going to have it consistently hooked up to city pressure. I wanted that regular valve, and then I want to go to a newer system with the pump, because it's just not as perhaps as noisy, and there's various reasons I'll go into later. They evade me right now, but anyway, I'm just showing you. I demoed this, took this off, and when I discovered it didn't line up, I said, you know what, I want to use the old tank for rainwater harvesting, and I was thinking about running PVC pipe from the roof down. But look, it's curved, right? And there's windows, so I can curve the water to flow down into the tank. So I think what I might do is, rainwater harvesting is not always going to be on. I will use this old one to hook up a hose when I want to have rain harvesting up top, and I'll put a new one next to it with the regulating valve, and do it that way. So it may look funny, just a thought right now, but just wanted to share it. Let's see what else I can tell you about. Oh, I learned this is like a J. It's hard to tell from this angle, but it's like this, curves around and comes back like a J, right? Like that. And this is coming off, right? So the next part after demo, and part of that is I gotta put this back together. So here, there's sealant. Putty, but more specifically, well, what I got is better. I don't know why, but it's called butyl. So let's see if I can take a piece out of there to show you. But anyway, yeah, so I gotta take this whole J off, put new butyl on there, and then you can also see staples. So they stapled it first and then screwed it. So I have a staple gun. Do I do that? Do I use tape to hold it together until I screw it in place? I don't know, but I got the butyl tape to start doing this right. I haven't taken this down yet because I want to finish more on the inside. But really, this needs to happen fairly soon, and I'll get into it. But I was at this corner, wanted to talk about it. Let's wrap around to the inside, show you a few things, and then I'll get started today with a time-lapse video. And what's that time-lapse video going to be of? it's, before I rip the rest of the floor out, I gotta take the kitchen out. So I gotta take that whole section. It is actually anchored against the back wall. It's not freestanding. So once I take it off the wall, it's gonna sag. Gotta be careful. It's light wood, not really well built in the sense that they're trying to go lightweight here. So I do not want to destroy it. So gotta take that out so I can rest the rest of the floor. So a little bit more about, you know, what happened. I was here yesterday for a little bit, and here's the type of things as a DIYer you're gonna run into. You are gonna make mistakes. Circular saw went right through the floor. I didn't have the depth adjusted right. The thing is, in my defense, I've used the circular saw to demo more of this floor, and it didn't cut through it. So why now? Well, turns out this floor should be tacked up nicely against these 2x4s as the effective joists, but it wasn't everywhere else. It was actually kind of low. But here was tacked nicely up, pulling it just close enough. And not only did it cut there, I cut it here. So really disappointed in myself. Those things are going to happen. But if you look around, well, that's where the gas was for, I believe, the absorption refrigerator. Doing away with that. I took that out. But anyway, there's lots of little holes. Intended holes, accidental punctures, all throughout. Now, this is like a rolled, I don't know if it's cold steel or whatever, or if it's even an aluminum. It may even be like an aluminum. But anyway, but I think I can fix it with a weld. Put a patch here, weld it in. I don't know. I don't want to replace the whole thing. But I got to patch everything else. So this is just one more thing to patch. And hopefully it's doable. Shout out to Maker Village across the street, which is a maker space for anything on the wood or metal side. They have welders. Hopefully they can train me on it. And on a weekend work day, they can let me bring it out of the space and help me patch this up. You'll see more of that later. All right, so let's see what else I can talk about. Spacing, okay, on these joists. I also talked about how the thickness of the plywood that I got 1/2 inch, 11/30 seconds over like 3/4, 23, 30 seconds or whatever. The reason I wanted to go with, actually no, I think I got 15, 30 seconds, so a little less than 1/2 inch. The reason I went with that is the spacing that I saw here was about 14 inches center to center, and it said as long as it's under 16, you can use that thin of plywood. Well, if you look here, they're all different. And these have been added. Again, I'm probably repeating myself, so my apologies, but I want to finish the train of thought is, I'm demoing the kitchen, saving it all, but just taking it out of here so I can demo the rest of the floor, bring the new flooring in here, and not secure it, but just cut it, rip it down, put it in place. But if all of the joists are different, it's going to make it a little more difficult of how to cut it and make sure that the joist seams land on, or the plywood subfloor seams line up on the joists, so they don't sag when you step on it and stuff. And I want them to all be consistent. And I like the 14. Clearly they're not all the same, so I'm going to have to move around. And the ones I don't want to have to move are these. So underneath, that's a bolt. And that lag bolt, whatever, goes down, and there's a metal frame there. This one has it here, and you can't see it, but it's under here. This one doesn't. This one doesn't. That one does. Right here. And then on the back side, there, 4 places versus 2. So those are all going to have to stay where they are, and that's original wood. And I want to tell you too, this was hard to pull up because this flooring, the old flooring, was stapled and glued with like adhesive here. So that's making it difficult for me to ply up. And you can see there's still pieces there I'm going to have to like keep working on. And I've been pulling all the staples out and trying to recycle them. And some, you know, they're ripping off. I'll just have to hammer into the wood. But this looks like an old growth, nice, I don't know, like cedar or something. Very cool. And this is the new stuff, right? So I'm going to have to adjust the spacing to the best that I can. And part of the spacing here is influenced by the kitchen, right? This is right underneath this. That's why it's there. You got another one there. This is the one I want to keep in place. So obviously, you know, if that's 14, great. If I have to move it, well, I need to keep it under there. So it may not be perfect, but just getting into some details. Last bit, let's see. Here's the inside of like that bulkhead sort of water, city water access point. I want to show you, I actually saw some ants there. Some of the people, they were living in there. I want to talk to you about, and you'll get into more later, is the condition of the wall, you know, how much water was in there. And an indicator, and I left a screw up here to show you, is rust. So you obviously some water marks around the windows. You can't see it so much, but it's there. So it's leaking. That same butyl tape outside along the J seam, I got to do around all the windows, pop these out, right? But that's along the windows. Where else? You know, water's obviously, or moisture is getting the wall. You look at a lot of these screws I pulled out. They're rusted, okay? So I'm not going to reuse this, but the problem is that indicates moisture was in the wall at some time, bad enough to consistently be there to cause this to rust. So I will talk about how, you know, you'll see later, but how I'm going to put a vapor barrier in here and insulate accordingly to try and keep moisture out of the wall and keep this from happening. So that's about it. I'm really this is a big hurdle the next few days on getting this new flooring in and feeling like I'm on the winning side of this project, if you will, that you know, I can make this. This is not just a pipe dream that I'm not capable of doing. All right. Lastly, when I pull this stove out, which is going to be kind of, you know, I love this thing's awesome. I determined the oven works. This is just loose. The pilot, this actually pilot works down here, but I'm going to show you this. I showed you this before, I think. This arm's missing. There's a pilot light here. This thing. So this thing seems to be all working fine, but I gotta buy a new pilot light. Like, do I want this to be something that when people are staying here, it's always lit here and here, and you just turn it on, or do I want people to take a lighter and have to light it? Safety makes me think I want people to light it, no pilot, but I still want it to be fixed. So I'll have to figure that out. You know, when I'm renting it or whatever, do I disconnect it here and cap it so the pilot won't light, or do I not fix it? Figure that out, but these type of issues I face. Look at all this rat/mouse feces. It's hard to see, but I don't want to disturb that. I was going to get a brush and brush it out, but I'm just going to pull this whole thing out and spray it down outside with compressed air and get all that crap out of there. So with that, I'm going to set up this time-lapse camera to rip out this kitchen and then the rest of the floor, and hopefully call it a good day here later on. Oh, last thing, show you the door. Okay, so they've got insulation, right, all throughout the wall. Maybe, what, less than an inch? And then the door is just, oh, you can see it better there. It's just honeycomb, like cardboard, fiber, paper. So it's hardly insulated at all. I mean, that's air, right? But it's not the same as this fiber glass, you know, bat fill or whatever. So I'm going to take all this out. Don't know if I'll get to it today. Take it all out, replace the wood around the windows and all that. Put a big block of wood here to secure it, because this was collapsing on the pushing in on the metal, because all this was this cardboard behind it. That's poor design, right? So put a piece of wood here so it's strong, and then foam board throughout, and kind of go from there. So, oh, Chelsea. I don't know if that's Chelsea. Is that Chelsea? Oh, sorry, I thought you were Chelsea. Oh, it's Chris. Snyder? You must be a different Chelsea. That's not Ivor either. Do you know Chelsea and Duron? No. Okay, sorry. No, I want. Okay, I'll see you around. Bye. Okay, so that's not Chelsea. Anyway, so so yeah, camper door. Want to get to that. Want to pull these out, insulate it, and the reason this is a priority, although I should probably make it more than the kitchen, is security, right? I mean, this door was found open one day and no one stole anything, but you can see it's loose, right? So I need to fix all that and make this thing secure. I'm not storing any of my nice tools in here yet, but But yeah. And speaking of which, this is a little this is questionable. I have this disguised as a pile of scrap wood, but underneath here is a $250 piece of bamboo ply that I'm using for the kitchen table, the desk, and the bed. So I need to get that thing out of here ASAP and installed quickly, because otherwise I need to ask Chad here at Square One Studios where I can store it in the interim. But for now, yep, let's get to it. All right, thanks, guys. All right, this is Matt Heckert. He was just here for a couple hours helping me. He's my first guest on the project. This is his badass S2000. He's a pretty creative guy, so thanks a lot. See you soon. All right, so we were sitting over here, had a beer and a little lunch, and we were talking dinette kitchen bed thing. He kind of said maybe you should just simplify it and just forget the bed. So something to consider. All right, so I did a time-lapse video of the bed removal or the kitchen removal, which he was helping me with, and I'm not sure it took. So if you saw it before this, then success. If not, the camera died, and lesson learned. Camera dies during time-lapse, the time-lapse is dead. All right, so this is my idea of a sawhorse / using the car to make that shooting board. So I haven't cut the plywood down yet. Still got to see if that's going to work. Not done yet today, but I wanted to capture a little bit and, you know, record Matt being a help here. All right, so you can see the oven is out. That thing's a beast. The difficult part was these ridges. See this? That was keeping us from pulling it out forward. So I don't know how they originally designed this thing and got it in. You know, hats off to them. So what I had to do is notch this out, push it back far enough so we could lift it out of here. Matt was saying, why don't you just scrap this? And I was like, you know what? This is part of that vintage thing. I'm definitely keeping obviously this in the sink, but the whole kitchen itself, you know, it works, right? So why redo it? It can be redone in the future, because I'm just gonna have it sitting down on the new vinyl floor, but trying to salvage it. So the thing is, it's not properly supported in the back because it was against the wall, so I'm going to prop it up there and move it off to the side where I finished taking this floor out. Right now, it's screwed in and they were like broken off or whatever, so I got to run to the store. My oscillating tool only has a wood bit on it, not for cutting through these screws at the bottom, so those flush cuts or whatever. So I'm going to cut those out, get the tool at the store so I can move this over there. That's about it. So we'll check back in, you know, at the end of the day or the next day, and you can see the progress we made. Thanks. All right, I'm finishing up here today. It was a long one, not as accomplished as I wanted. But tomorrow's another day. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight this. I had 2 bunnies come say hello. I think this guy ate some banana I gave him, some Swedish cracker. So, in terms of the camper, you know, people say you should give it a name, and I came up with a name based on the age and stuff, but the fact that there's 2 bunnies that have come to visit me today, I don't know if there's any indication there. This one is so huge, I kind of think he's domesticated. He wants to say hello, so I told him, you know, he can be shy today. I'll feed him next time he comes, and maybe he'll want to live in the camper. I don't know. We'll see. All right, for now, bye.